Hello, my name is Roy Putnam. I'm over here to my nephew, enjoying a visit, enjoying dinner, and enjoying the company. I'll be 72 years old the 28th day of July, and the selection I'd like to try to play is a Naughty Boy Schottish. Thank you. This next selection I'd like to play is Red Wing. This is Roy G. Putnam, an uncle of Ira Davis, Cy Davis, and Yvonne Putnam, and down here and enjoying ourselves with our relatives. We're sure pleased to be here. Thank you. Oh, yes. And Al Putnam, Enda, right here by me. Why, pretty near all of them been down here. Been so happy to be here at Ira Davis's. Mona's here too. Mona Putnam, or Mona Levitt. Ray Levitt. And all the rest of them. Well, our next number I'd like to play is Somebody Loves You.
down here to Irie's place. I'm sure glad to be down here to you folks' place. I wish Vira was here, but she's over at Riverton. Irie, you said you'd like to hear me tell about one of my fights I had. I can remember one time when I was fighting a guy from down in Idaho. He was an Indian. His name was Kickapoo Dan. You know, we was going along pretty good, and I thought I was doing pretty good until about the third round. And then he hit me so hard that he knocked the air out of me. And it took all the air in that old ward hall over there to Afton to get back what he knocked out. But boy, after that, in the next 5 rounds, I really worked him over. I won the fight all right. Well, I guess that's about all I can tell you about that fight.
Go ahead, tell us about Mellows.
You got it turned off? Heck, I don't know what other fight I've had. I remember one time I fought Bill Noonswanger. He's an extra good friend of mine, but I'd licked him once up in the Narrows, but he'd licked me once down the Thane. So we was fighting the tie-off over to Afton one time, and we was going along pretty good, and I believe that we was just about doing the same, but I happened to get in a good lick and knocked him down. And I figured then that I'd won the fight, but after the fight was over, they said it was a draw, and so I told them, I said, well, let's fight her to a finish. And the other guys there, the promoters, they said, well, the reason we call this a draw, we'd like to have you come together again and so that we can make more money. And I said, boy, I'd rather lick Bill right now than to make more money.
This is Javern Putnam, Al's brother. I was in his corner the night he fought the Indian. And I'm telling you, when he hit him that lick, it was really a bad one. It was a solar plexus lick. And he just let out a long moan and fell over on the mat. And the bell saved him at the count of 9. We lugged him into his corner and worked on him till the bell sounded again. And he went out, and about the next round he broke his hand, one of his hands. And he finished the fight and licked the Indian with practically one hand.
They were recording that.
I know it, but I couldn't get it the right side. It's not for me to say you love me, and it's not for me to say you always care. All but here for the moment I can hold you fast and press your lips in mine and dream that love will last. As far as I can see, this is heaven. And speaking just for me, it's ours to share. Perhaps the glow of love that grows with every passing day, or we may never My name is Roberta Lee Rotek, and I'm Ira's niece, Ira Davis's niece, and I have two little girls, one 5 and one 3, and their name is Debbie and Denise, and we're all three going over to Japan next month on a big ocean liner, and we'll sure be excited about it, and can't wait hardly until we get over there, and we sure appreciate having this recording, and thank you. Oh, and my song is It's Not For Me to Sing, and it was by Joan Davis. She played for me.
My goodness, Aunt Elsa, you surely look good.
Well, thank you a lot.
You and Uncle Roy looks better than I've seen you in years. How old did you say you was?
Well, I'm just at the age of 68 last December, so.
68 years young, you mean?
Well, if you want to put it that way, that's fine.
How long have you been married?
52 years, the 17th of last April.
Ah, you must have been a mere child when you got
Well,
married.
17 years old.
17 years old. Where did you live where were you living when you were first married?
In Auburn, down on my dad's ranch, the old Ben Welch Ranch down in Auburn.
Could you tell us about where that's located?
I don't know. I can't tell you which direction it is.
It's in Monaro, just you're leaving Auburn, coming down the Salt River.
What sort of a house did you have?
Oh, we had quite a nice house, a nice frame house, rock cellar on it. Had 4 nice rooms in it. Had a nice house.
Weren't you satisfied there?
Hardly.
And why not?
Well, I guess like all the rest of young people, we wanted to get out and find something different.
Well, what was the matter with the farm? Didn't you have the most productive place in Star Valley?
Well, but that belonged to Dad. That didn't belong to me and my husband. That was my father's place.
Were there several other children involved there that had rights in that place?
Well, there was our family. They were my sister and 3 brothers besides me there.
Your sister and 3 brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5 of you. Well, what finally became of the old ranch?
I couldn't say. When Father sold it, I guess the ranch is still there. I don't know who owns it or anything about it.
But your father disposed of the property and moved away from Star Valley.
Yes, sir. He moved away at the same time that we did.
You say the same time that we did.
But my husband and I moved out of here.
And where did you go?
Shelley, Idaho.
Did you find employment there, or?
Yes, we did. We went, my husband went to work for Myrup and Nolan out at Lost River. I went out there with him and helped cook for the hay hands at the time.
This was farm work then that you started on?
Yes, sir.
Then, how long did you stay there?
Well, just that summer. Then we came back to Blackfoot, went to the Salt Lake Temple and had our marriage solemnized in the Salt Lake Temple. And then we came back and we went up to Iona, Idaho, and that's out from Idaho Falls, and he went to work in the sugar factory at Idaho Falls.
Did you have any children then?
No, sir, he did not.
Where did you finally locate then after you had run around like that from one place to another? Did you finally find a permanent home?
Well, for a while we did. We lived to Paris, Idaho. We lived there for, about 3 years, I think, in Idaho, in Paris. And we had our second boy born in Paris, John.
What were you doing in Paris?
He was working in on a ranch there in Paris for Lou Crawford.
Did you stay there until he went to work for the railroad?
No, we moved back down to American Falls and took up a homestead at American Falls, Idaho.
What was the matter with the homestead?
Couldn't make a living on it and had to move out.
Well, I thought homesteads were places where people went to make a living.
I guess they are, but we didn't. We lived on it and proved up on it, lived on it for about 6 years, and then we moved out. Had to get out for children to go to school for one reason.
Where did you go from there?
Pocatello, Idaho.
Is that when he went to work on the railroad?
Yes, sir.
Did he have employment there when he went to Pocatello? Did he know that he had a job?
I don't think so. How about it, Dad? Did you?
No, we didn't know we had employment. I left the ranch in 1918, went to Pocatello, Idaho, had the flu for about a month, and then finally went to work for the railroad company the 11th day of November 1918.
How did you come to start for the railroad?
Well, I moved down there, about the best job I could find. I got 38 cents an hour for 10 hours a day until McAdoo gave us a raise in wages and cut hours to 8 hours a day. And then we got about 40 cents an hour, and we thought we were making a fortune. We moved off of the ranch because Hoover starved us out. Cut the price of wheat down to 35 cents a bushel. People walked off from the ranch and told the people that had put up the money for those ranchers around American Falls if they wanted their wheat to go get it. There it was. And there's the combines and the horses and everything. And they walked off from the ranches. I sold my ranch for $5,500 and thought I was doing fine. A year from that time, the fellow took bankruptcy and lost his ranch and mine too, and it's growed up sagebrush now.
What type of work did you do on the railroad?
I was a carman for 33 years, and I took a heart attack, quit on the 22nd day of July. The 28th July, I was old enough for a pension, so I took a pension. And I've had 7 or 8 heart attacks since. I'm at Ira Davis's now, my nephews, enjoying myself, and I'm thankful to be here.
Aunt Elsie, you've had considerable trouble taking care of him during this awful sick spell. Could you tell us something about it?
Well, I've enjoyed it in a way because I was able to have the health and that to take care of him. It's been hard this last 7 years taking care of him, but I've enjoyed it because I've been able to take care of him, and I've still got him, so I'm still able to take care of him. So that's worth a whole lot.
All your labor then has been a labor of love rather than a burden.
Surely has. I have never regretted that I've had him to take care of at all. We just got along fine.
How many children were born from this union? Would you name them in their order?
I had a boy, Roy Gilman, which we lost when he was 2 months old. Then we had Johnny, who lives in Idaho Falls. And we had Wanda, and she passed away when she was 21 years old. And then we had Lavina, and she passed away a year ago this last June. And then I had Alvin and Dwayne. And then we adopted our Twyla, I forgot her. And then we have Johnny, we adopted him, which was our Wanda's little boy. And we raised him, and he's living in Mountain Home. So I had the 4 boys and the 3 girls.
Are they, how many of them living now?
Well, I have the 3 boys living and the 1 daughter living.
Where are they living?
Well, our oldest boy, John, is in Idaho Falls. He's a policeman in Idaho Falls. And our daughter, she lives in Indianapolis, Indiana, Twyla. And then we have 1 boy in San Diego, California. He is in the Navy. And then we have another, and that's Dwayne, my baby. Then we have Alvin. He lives in Burley, Idaho. He's with the gas company in Burley, Idaho.
Do you remember how many grandchildren and great-grandchildren you have?
I'd have to count them all. John's got
12 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
And there's 12 grandchildren.
5 great-grandchildren.
Sure. There's 12 grandchildren and the 5 great-grandchildren.
That's quite a posterity, isn't it?
We think it is.
Now you see, this is being made a matter of history. We'll have this accurately from you. So whenever your children come here, they can hear these things and find out something about your life. If there's anything else that you'd like to tell us, can you think of any incidents that might have a little touch of humor that you could tell us?
Oh, I don't.
Can you remember any experiences you had that were really funny?
Well, when we lived on the dry farm, one evening we went to a dance. We used to go to dances all the time, and used to dance all night. We'd take our lunch with us, and at 12 o'clock we'd stop and have lunch. And this one evening we decided we was going over to a schoolhouse across the tracks to a dance, and Orson Putnam, he was my husband's brother, he was with us, and a cousin of my husband's, Vern Eastman. We had our 2 kiddies with us, and we had a sleigh and 4 horses on it, and we started out for this dance, and I guess it took us about 3 hours to go. And when we found out, got off the road, snowing and blowing, and when we got off the road, we'd been going around in a ring, just around in a circle there for about 3 hours. When finally we found the schoolhouse, and they was all waiting for us there for supper when we got there. And we danced till morning. We really had some time.
Well, now it seems to me that Roy went to a lot of these dances. What was the occasion that he was always going out to these dances?
Well, both of us liked to dance, and we always went. We really enjoyed them.
Is that all he did at these dances, was to dance?
Well, sometimes he'd play, take a rest when the other musicians got tired, while he'd sit in and play the violin, and that's about all we did, was dance.
Didn't he ever make it a business to play for dances?
No, he never did. He just played when his musicians. We run a dance there in Pocatello for about 10 years, and he would just sit in and play when the other musicians would get tired. Why, wanted to go out and smoke while Daddy would take over.
Would you like to ask her any questions, any of you? Vern, would you like to ask her some questions?
I couldn't think of questions right now.
Al, would you like to ask her any more questions?
Oh, Aunt Elsa, didn't Uncle Roy used to run a dance hall down there in Pocatello?
Yes, we run one there for, I think it was under about 10 years.
Oh, he used to teach dancing, didn't he, or something? What did he do? He used to kind of show them how to dance these old-time dances, didn't he?
He'd get out and show them, yes, how to dance.
He was a floor manager.
Mm-hmm. And we had the hall.
Was he a bouncer, too?
He'd bounce them, all right. If they needed bouncing, he'd bounce them.
Well, as I recall it, when I was just a boy, I can see him playing baseball. He was quite a catcher. He played behind the bat quite a bit and things like that. Did he go away from home and leave you behind while he went out to play baseball?
Not very often. I usually always went with him. We'd take the babies and we went down through Utah one summer with a tour of the railroad baseball, and I went with him. We had we had our children, we left them home with the baby. We took her with us. But we'd usually always get in the car and go too when we went and played ball.
Did you enjoy it?
We surely did. We've had lots of great times together.
Aunt Elsa, do you remember when you used to be up there in Auburn? Oh, it's been a long time ago. I guess I was just a little kid. I'll bet I wasn't over 6 or 7 years old. But when they used to have that old Bowery out there, on the 4th of July, and I remember they used to put up a pole out there and jump over it. And I can remember Uncle Roy and Uncle Orson and some more fellows. And Uncle Roy, he could always jump the furthest. Instead of seeing how high they could jump, they used to jump over the pole and see how far they could jump. I can remember that.
Yeah, they used to have those.
I wonder if you remember the old programs they used to have in the church there at Auburn, with the Old Glory flying at the top of the pole, and they had a big program there every 4th of July. Do you remember something about what they did?
Yes, I can, and I can remember one just before the 4th of July. We had going to have a big celebration, and we had a nice, good old Star Valley storm come, and the lightning hit the top of the flagpole and split it right in two. We didn't have no flagpole for the 4th of July. I can remember that very well.
Can you remember all the dynamite that was exploded the morning of the 4th?
Surely. I remember being on the committee one year here for that purpose, and we went and got Will Ashdown, my brother-in-law, and he went with us, and Carl Walton, and we certainly saluted old Auburn that year.
Did Roy ever have anything to do with that?
Well, I couldn't say. He never, that I know of, I couldn't say.
He never made much noise on the 4th.
I don't know. It's been so long ago on that time.
Maybe he could tell us something about that. It seems to me they used to take a couple of anvils and put them together and put the black powder in between, then set it off.
Probably did. That'd be too early in the morning for me to be after.
I remember one time on the 4th of July, I went hunting ducks with Ara Davis. And we went down in the field, and I jumped down off from a leaning fence and hit the wire on the bottom and cut my leg very badly. And when I went up for the 4th of July, it's the only way they'd let me run the races with anybody my own age. And I remember winning a pocket knife at that time. And it's about the only way I get to run in the races there. My own age was if I was crippled up or something, or else I had to run boys that were a lot older than I was myself. I remember one time I went over to Aft and I got beat at jumping. Some of the boys bet on me. I jumped 10 feet and 2 inches, but there was a boy there by the name of Burton that outjumped me a little bit. He was just back from the AC. We used to have some grand old times there in Auburn. I can remember early in the morning you'd hear the blasting of shotguns and shells that would go off. Father had a little old anvil, I think it would weigh about 35 pounds. And they always come and got that to put powder in and blast that off during the 4th of July. I've been in many of old pioneer wagon trips and that we used to have on Pioneer Day. I remember them very well. But I wasn't very old. I moved into Star Valley, I think, when I was about 3 years old. Lived there until I was 20 and married, and we left Star Valley and went to Snake River. Been living in Snake River ever since.
The occasion for this is Uncle Roy's and Aunt Elsie's visit to us on the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 22nd day of June, the longest day of the year, 1958. We were so surprised to see them walk into the store, particularly Uncle Roy, whom we'd seen last in such a state that we hardly expected to ever see him alive again. And to see him walk in here healthy and strong, apparently, why, it was one of the thrills of my life. Now, we've had quite a time here together today. We've got him to tell some of the incidents of his life. His wife has talked here a little. A number of his family have recorded their voices on here. Maybe we'll never meet again. One of his granddaughters leaving us for faraway places for 2 long years, taking her 2 babies to greet her husband, who's in the services over there. So we consider this quite an occasion. We've had the family together down here today. Practically every one of us were represented. And we feel really honored to have them here in our home. One of the outstanding occasions of our lives has been having you folks here with us today. We don't know when we'll ever get together again. Maybe never on this earth, who knows? Time brings many changes, and if we can hear your voices again, it brings a lot of satisfaction. When we want to visit with you, it's just we can turn this tape on and listen to what you have to say. We remember you with love, kindness, and great affection. We hope that you'll come and see us a lot of times. Make it frequently. Even though we're right here side and side, and it seems like it's almost impossible to get the family together. Even Al's wife couldn't be with us today because they have a new granddaughter. And she went over to Riverton, Wyoming, to see her new granddaughter and take care of her daughter. That's why she isn't here. Something else that should be recorded as a fact, because this becomes history. Now, we'd like to close this up, but while Uverne Putnam is here, we'd like to ask him some questions, because we want to hear him tell some of the things that have transpired in his life. He's as dear to me as any man on earth. And we think so much of him, we'd like to have him tell us a few things about himself and about his family. And since he's been pretty well crippled up here himself with arthritis, other things, his hair is getting gray. Of course, I don't think he'd like to admit it, but nevertheless, that old man with the size is even catching up with him. So I want to ask him a few questions, and then before we close this thing up. Uverne, remember when we go back to the old days, when you and I and Uncle Nate used to go to the canyon together, all on those big home mountain load of wood? Do you remember the first time that we ever did any hunting together?
that takes me back a long way, because my father taught me to hunt before I could hold a big gun up. When we could first hold a .22 up, he'd teach us to shoot, even lean it across, something to shoot, a .22. I well remember the first time I ever shot a shotgun. We went hunting sage chickens in the spring of the year. That used to be the favorite sport. We hunted the year round practically, but in the spring of the year we hunted sage cocks. So this was up at the Sulphur Springs one morning, and we sneaked up the hill till we got pretty close to a big sage rooster that was strutting. So he handed me the shotgun and told me to shoot it. And I up and blazed away. And I don't think I hit him at all. But the shotgun kicked me end over end back down the hill.
Do you remember the time when we first shot at a chicken with a .22 rifle?
Well, I don't know as I could remember the first time. But I remember the time your folks, your mother and you children moved to Logan so the girls could go to college. We went through the Georgetown Canyon, and all these little ruffed grouse were everywhere. And we got in quite a lot of practice that time. We'd change off. But to shoot a chicken, that wasn't good enough. But we had to shoot the head off all the time. Father never was satisfied unless we shoot the head off.
Do you remember the first time we went elk hunting?
Yes, I remember that well. It was, we two boys, you being 2 years older, had some advantage. But I don't remember just how old I was.
We were 9 and 7.
9 and 7. Well, my father and Orson Putnam, our uncle, your mother, Aunt Pearl, you and I, we went hunting elk. Well, of course, Aunt Pearl didn't go into the mountains. She stayed down at Aunt Jen Reese's while we packed back into the Grays River country.
How were the roads then?
Well, there weren't roads, they were trails. Just wound around. Very muddy if it rained.
Do you remember when the elk was killed?
Yes, we were over on Pine Bar. And we climbed onto a ridge and located a little bunch of elk. Then Orson, they decided that he should go sneak onto them. So he did, and he shot. And then my father took you and I up there to where he'd been shooting. When we got up there, he'd broke a big bull's back, and he was in a little ravine, dragging himself down the ravine. And oh, was he a blow. Man, it just got me so excited I could hardly hang on the side hill. I can remember I was just dizzy as a coot. Listen to that old bull snort and coming down through there.
You'd better finish this up now and tell us the outcome.
Well, I was the youngest, but I was my father's son, and Ira, he was just a cousin. So I guess they figured I should have the advantage, which I don't think I should have had. But they decided to give me the first shot anyway at this bull to finish him off. So I had a little .30-30 carbine they let me shoot at him with. And the first shot I shot, I didn't kill him. I shot right through his ear, right next to the head. Then Ira said, "Well, you missed him, it's my turn." and it should have been. No, they give me another chance. So the next time I got him all right. In the other ear, he turned his head around, and I killed him.
Go ahead and tell us the rest of that story now. How did we get back to camp?
Oh, boy, that's something. By the time we got the elk dress, it was dark. Well, we couldn't follow the trail back, so they decided to go down to the Snake River and follow the river back to camp, to Pine Bar. But when we got to the river, it was all ledges, off in, and no trail along the river bank. So we followed that river and scaled around those ledges. They'd hold our hands, and so dark you couldn't see your hand before you. And that was quite an experience, getting back to camp.
Do you remember what time it was when we got back there?
No, I don't remember the time.
It was long past midnight when we got back to camp. But that was a grateful bunch of people. If we'd made one misstep, we'd have gone off into that river, and that would have been the end of us. And we were fortunate enough to get back there to camp that night without any mishap. Well, that was our first elk hunting trip. And we had a number of hunting trips together. After we grew up a little, he and I took it upon ourselves to go out. One time we took our rifles in the dead of winter, just he and I. We started out back through those west hills. And we stayed out there for a week. Nothing but our rifles and a little handful of salt and some matches. The first day out, we found some peculiar grouse that were hidden away way back under the pine, a small pine tree where the branches had been pushed down with snow. We got those two grouse. We fared pretty well the first couple of days. But then our food began to get short, and we got way over on the head of Boulder. There was no ice in that stream. It was just as clear as could be, and we could see those fish in there. Down in those holes, just lots of them. Well, when we get hungry, all we'd have to do is fire a shot in that water and take out what fish we needed. We'd roast them over a fire. At night, we'd get where there was a big red pine tree, strip the bark off from it, like shingles, and stack them up like that, all the way around, make a little house out of it, and over the top, put pine boughs in there and spread our coats down. We'd make a big fire outside, heat rocks, and put them all the way around the wall on the inside. Then we could go in there, and if one side was open to the fire, just as warm and nice as it was right at home, we'd lay there and talk until we get sleepy and go to sleep. The dead of winter, the snow was so deep, well, we were just going on the crust. But finally, we were getting pretty hungry. And we went down to old Sidney Reed's cabin. You remember where that was? Al, do you remember where Sidney's cabin was? Way up Stump Creek?
Oh, you bet. I stayed there once tonight.
Well, Sidney and Frank were gone. But we managed to get the door open and went in there, and we found a few old, hard, baking powder biscuits at the bottom of each bread box. That's the only thing there was in that cabin to eat. But manna from heaven never tasted sweeter than those biscuits. But we managed to get on home that night with a couple of weary, footsore kids. But it was an experience that taught us that we could provide for ourselves under most any conditions. A good thing for most any boy to do. And we've had lots of fishing trips together. We've gone fishing and hunting. Until I went away, and Vern had it all to himself. But he's made a great success out of the thing that he liked to do best. I believe Vern Putnam knows more about game than any man in the state of Wyoming. He's had more practical experience with them, moving them around, capturing different types of game, moving them from one area to another. And while we're talking about it, I just as well say that he's co-author with one of the books that they use in college. Would you tell us something about that, Vern?
While we were working for State of Wyoming or Game and Fish, Jim Grass and I were on beaver survey together. We wrote a little book on the ecology and management of beaver in Wyoming that they use some over the states as a reference book on beaver.
Vern is very modest about these things. It's hard to get him to talk, but I've read the book myself, and I think it's a masterpiece as far as I can tell. Now, he served with the State Game Commission for many years, and practically all over the state of Wyoming, even going into other states for the purpose of capturing specimens that we didn't have here, restocking our areas. Could you tell us something about that, Vern?
Well, we went into Nevada one summer to trap a few mountain sheep, or not, desert sheep, I should say, to bring back, to get them started in our desert country, but it wasn't too much of a success. We only brought back 2 ewes and a ram, but we had a lot of fun trying to catch them.
Well, are these animals quite elusive, or are they easy to capture?
Since then, I've had quite a bit of experience in trapping mountain sheep. Some people think it's quite a feat to take a rifle and sneak up to a mountain sheep and shoot it with a gun. But if you had to figure out ways to catch it in a pen without harming it, then move it a few hundred miles to new habitat, it would probably work your imagination over time.
Have you ever had any experience with moving moose from one area to another?
Yes. While I was working for Game and Fish, we made 2 successful moose plants. In fact, they were very successful. We moved 2 truckloads of moose, one each time, from the Teton County up around the Moosehead Ranch in that vicinity, moved them into the Bighorn Mountains, where the moose had become extinct. And that herd has multiplied until this last fall. They had an open season on mature moose in the Bighorns.
Now, what about sage grouse? I think you've had some experience in moving them from one area to another.
Well, 2 summers I worked moving sage grouse from over in Fremont County, Sweetwater County. In the 2 summers, we trapped and transplanted over 3,000 sage grouse. With very little loss, about 2% loss in handling. That would be 2 grouse in 100 that was planted out.
How old are you now, Vern?
I was born on the turn of the century, or 22nd of April, 1900. I'm 58 now.
How old were you when you were married?
Well, I was pretty young. If I remember right, I was around 18. My wife was 16.
How many children have you?
We have 12 children.
Do you know how many grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
Well, 32 grandchildren now, 1 great-grandchild.
Which is pretty good for a man 58 years old, I'd say.
Well, last summer we had them all together. And I have some pictures of that. They were nearly all there. All the grandchildren was there but one. And I'm telling you, that's a crowd.
Especially if you had to feed them all. Well, Vern, I wanted you to say some of these things. If you can think of anything else you'd like to tell us, I wish you'd do it. Can you think of any instances, any little stories or anecdotes in your life that you'd like to tell us?
Well, there's a lot of things happen in a man's lifetime. But since handling game has been one thing that I've got a lot of kick out of, I wouldn't mind telling you one time I was trying to trap some mountain sheep. I'll tell you just how it was done. We'd built this trap up on the Tory Creek rim. I picked the place after investigating many areas. It happened to be an old sheep bed ground, and the mountain sheep over the centuries had worn numerous trails where they'd come down off the high country onto the plateau area where they wintered. But they would come to this certain area to bed. So we built a trap on this old bed ground with V-wings above and below. So if they were above and came down, they would filter into the trap. The trap was 110 rods around it, so they really didn't know when they were trapped. But we had a little trouble getting them in there just the same. One day I was in a Jeep, went up alone, and I saw a large bunch of sheep about a mile below the trap. They were feeding. So I decided to try to drift them in. But the first thing I did was ask for help. And it was granted me this day. And it took me 3 hours and 15 minutes to drift that bunch of sheep a mile. But I captured 17 head in the trap. Greatly surprised the men when I went back to Du Bois and told them of it.
Well, brother and sister Davis, it's been a pleasure to visit you here in your home again after many years that we've been apart. And I still remember the wonderful times that we had back in West Virginia together. We went out on our picnics. I can remember the time that we went up on the creek there in the Ogilvy Park and spent a nice, refreshing day there together and a good, enjoyable time. When we went back there, we've had many wonderful visits and times together. We went out in cottage meetings, and you sang, and your good wife played the piano or organ, whatever we had to play on there. And we had some wonderful meetings there together and some wonderful, enjoyable times. And I've always regarded your friendship very highly, and I'm certainly glad to be back and visit with you again here in your home, where we think very highly of our friendship with you. You have a wonderful family here, and we rejoice with you in the wonderful family that you have here, and the home that you have, and the peace and happiness that you're having at this present time in your home. We're very thankful to our Heavenly Father for bringing us together in association. We've had one with another. But this time we are preparing now to go back to our home. As I said, we've had a wonderful visit here with you. We're going back to Salt Lake now, where we're having our present home. And we hope and pray that the Lord will be with you and continue to bless you here in your home, and you may have much joy and happiness. As the old poem says, friends must part and strangers meet, and hearts be broken that once was sweet. The world must change and all be new, when you and I must bid adieu. So I guess we'll have to be going on our way, but we hope to be seeing you soon in Salt Lake City, where we can have another wonderful visit together. May the Lord bless you in your home and be with you at all times. I humbly pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Well, my name is Everett Tribbitt. I'm 73 years old, the 12th day of December. I worked at various occupations in my time, most of it railroading. I worked for the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad for 37 years until I retired from work. And since that time, came west here to Salt Lake City. I've been working in the church there quite a bit. I've been in the presidency of the 70s Quorum, in the presidency of the Elders Quorum, and chairman of the genealogical work in the church, as well as stake missionary. I served 2 years as stake missionary before, and I'm now, me and my good wife, are working as stake missionaries at the present time. And we are very happy in our work there, and we're enjoying ourselves very much. I hope to be able to leave here in peace and happiness, and have much happiness and contentment here in our church work. And I guess that's about all I got to say this morning. I'm not too much of a man, but I'm very happy to say these things.
Now tell us something about your family.
Well, me and my good wife were married on the 26th day of March in 1910. We've lived and moved in various places during that time. At that time, I was working as a worker in the glass factory, and I was afterwards promoted to foreman there. We lived there where our first son was born. We lived there for about 2 years in Washington, Pennsylvania. Then we moved back to West Virginia, where our second son was born in 1913, the first boy dying in July 1914. This oldest son of ours is now up in his 40 years, and he's a painter by trade, and he's doing very well. He's now painting in the state of California. And my daughter is married to my daughter did a mission in California for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for 18 months. She married a missionary by the name of Paul Pace. They have 5 very nice children. My youngest son, Ralph, graduated from the University of Utah in the capacity of an engineer, and he is doing very well there as a mechanical engineer in the Hill Field, where he's working at the present time. We've been blessed through our children and through our family, had much happiness in our home, and we've always, since joining the church, we've tried to serve the Lord and keep His commandments and live the golden rule: do unto others, you have others do unto you. And this is a very short sketch, but I hope it is very satisfactory to you. Is that all right, Brother Davis?
Good morning, Brother Davis. This is Alta Tribbitt, and I'm the home of Brother and Sister Davis here in Bedford, Wyoming, enjoying our visit. We came here yesterday about noon, and we've had a very enjoyable visit with them. We've had many enjoyable times back in the eastern states in West Virginia, near Wheeling, West Virginia, and we've been very good friends from that time, many years ago. They have a lovely family. We love them all very much. And we're living in Salt Lake City. My husband's told you most everything that I was going to say, but anyhow, we're very happy in Salt Lake City, and we're working in the church as missionaries. In fact, this is my 3rd mission, and I think it's the greatest work that we can do is the work of the Lord. And my occupation has been sales lady and housework, and I've enjoyed my life very much, and we enjoy visiting with these good folks here in Bedford. And I hope and pray that the Lord will bless them in their home, and they'll have much more happiness. I know they're very happy here together, and we're happy to associate with them, and we pray that they'll be able to visit with us whenever they have the opportunity in coming down to Salt Lake City. And I hope the Lord will bless each and every one of us. This I do in Jesus' name, amen.
Tell us something about your flowers.
Oh, Brother Davis wanted me to tell you something about my flowers. Of course, I've been in my line of work for about the last 35 years, and I've had quite a success with it, and I've enjoyed it very much, but I am 68 years old, and I just learned to drive a car when I was 66 years of age, and I enjoy it very much. We've drove up from Salt Lake City here, and my eyesight's good. I'm in very good health, and I've enjoyed it very much. Too bad I didn't learn years ago, but they say it's better late than never. But I have been quite successful in my sales work, but I'm coming to the age where I'm going to retire quite soon, and I'm happy that I've been able to make other people happy with my work, because I think many people enjoyed my flowers, and I hope many other people can do the same work, because it's quite fascinating. But we have a lovely family, and we're very proud of them. Our oldest boy died when he was just 3 years of age. As my husband said, we have 3 children living, and we're grateful for them. And I don't know anything else from you. So this will be all for this time, and we hope Brother and Sister Davis has good health and strength, and everything goes well with them and their family.
Little did we realize this was to be our last visit in our home with the Trivets. Much as we loved them, just a year later we were to be called to Salt Lake City for an emergency funeral for Brother Trivets. I want to read onto this record the obituary that was published in the Salt Lake Tribune. Everett Henry Trivet, 74, living at Ouray Avenue, 440 North, died at his home Monday of natural causes. Born December the 12th, 1884, Ravenswood, West Virginia, to George W. and Lucy Johnston Trivet. Married Allie Askew, November the 26th, 1910, Moundsville, West Virginia. Former employee, Baltimore and Ohio Railroad. Come to Utah in 1946. Member 28th Ward Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Former LDS branch president in New Martinsville and McMicken, West Virginia. Survivors: widow, Salt Lake City, 2 sons, a daughter, Ellsworth W., Palm Springs, California. Ralph W. Bountiful, Mrs. Pearlie Pace Kearns, 6 grandchildren, 2 brothers, 2 sisters. Funeral Thursday noon, 28th LDS Ward Chapel, 750 West 3rd North. Friends called 36 East 7 South, Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. Thursday prior at Chapel. Burial, Valley View Memorial Park. The way grows long and lonely. Another, one of my very best friends and closest associates, has gone to his reward. God help us to be worthy to meet again. Ira Davis.